Welcome back to the Gamers Hall. I'm Chris.
And I'm Adam.
And today we're going to be talking about the Unearthed Arcana One D&D character origins.
Yeah, we're going to try to figure out a little bit about the origins, the options through the whole playtest material, and give you our opinions on this, and maybe we can figure out how this is supposed to work.
Backgrounds, and I love the changes that they've done to backgrounds.
This is where they've taken and they really expand upon where your character has been and what actually makes your character, not what your race is. They've moved it to the background. This is what actively influences how your character is going to be like.
Yeah, because,
aside from your class, of course.
In the original Player's Handbook, you picked the background because it gave you something, but it didn't really influence your character all that much, or some people just picked them because of what abilities they gave you. This is literally saying, hey, this is a big part of building your character and who your character is.
Yeah, where you came from is more important than exactly what you are. So, you have all your life experiences before you became an adventurer are dictated here, and then how the character is actually going to play in most circumstances.
So backgrounds now are where you get your ability scores. So everyone can either get 2 in one and 1 in the second, or you can put 1 point in 3 different ability scores.
So this just balances out all the classes. We've already seen this in Tasha's and different books that adds the races. That's kind of typically where they're going, which takes away from the original human, which the original human would have +1 in everything, which not a lot of people played because, let's face it, the 2 is usually more important than the 1.
The only people that ever picked original human were the ones that rolled odd stats in every category.
Yeah, for those that roll and not play point buy, because if you play point buy, the 2 is usually way more important than the +1 would ever be. That's cool. They moved to the backgrounds. That's, I think, a much better change than when it just keeping in a race, because now this will...
Yeah, because depending on what you did will determine that. Like, if you went to school and studied, your intelligence is going to go up. If you
a construction worker is going to be stronger because they actively had to use it. Just because you're a dwarf doesn't mean a dwarf baker would have more strength than a dwarf construction worker.
Yeah, or
typically going to be stronger.
If you were an athlete, your strength or your dex is going to go up depending on what you did.
Yeah, or your con 1, 1, and 1 because you had to build them all up. So that's cool that they moved that here. I think that's a welcome change and will help with role play, which Chris and I we're big on the role play and less on getting down to the fights and min-maxing. So I think that's better for role play purposes.
Yeah.
Skill proficiencies 2 backgrounds already had that. No big change there.
1 tool proficiency.
Yeah, which is basically they put musical instruments, gaming sets, and the other tools are artisan tools. They're all kind of in the same category basket, whatever. They're putting it there. So choose 1, not anything different.
You can choose 1 language from the standard languages and rare languages table.
This is actually giving you access to 3 languages starting out.
Everyone gets common. And then you can choose 1 more language from the standard. And then what this is saying is you can choose 1 more from either the standard or the rare languages.
So base characters, not including what the class will give you, because they might give you other languages too, that everybody starts out with 3, which is actually becoming more of the norm in, especially the United States. There are a lot of people that speak multiple language, bilingual, trilingual.
Well, yeah, because America's a giant melting pot. More races are getting incorporated into America, and just like in Europe. So in Europe, there's
in Europe it's all over.
Yeah,
if you don't know 2 languages in Europe, you're in trouble.
Yeah, because if you go 8 hours one direction, people are speaking French. If you go 8 hours in a different direction, people are speaking German. And America's getting to a point to where if you don't know more than 1 language, it could be a little bit troublesome.
Yeah, and honestly, this is kind of a good reflection of what America is, because everybody knows common, or tries to know common English, at least the ability to speak it somewhat. And then a lot of people are learning Spanish because we have a lot of Spanish speakers, and then we have other people that come from other countries, China, India, or other places that are bringing their own language, and they're speaking that too. So, you have gas station clerks that are speaking Arabic, speaking Spanish, and speaking English all at the same time. So this is not weird.
I actually know ones that spoke Swahili.
Yeah, I've met several people that will speak many different languages for many different reasons. So to believe that everybody can only have one language and then have some other mystical way or something, or your race dictates your language.
In D&D, there's multiple races. It'd be weird to think that you wouldn't know more than one.
Yeah. Also, fun fact, an orc doesn't necessarily have to know orc. The orc that was never around any of the orcs might not know orc.
Yeah, you could be a race that starts out not knowing your race's language, just like people that get adopted from other countries.
Yeah.
Or I grew up, I'm half Vietnamese. I did not know Vietnamese growing up. Zero. I didn't learn until I was 26 years old.
That is a great role-playing thing that they've added there. They're like, no. Just because you have the features that would speak Elvish does not mean you can speak Elvish. It will not come naturally to you. You have to learn it.
I also think it'd be great for roleplay if, this person comes up and is speaking Elvish to you. And it's like, I don't understand you, buddy. Sorry. You know Common?
Yeah. There's many, I've heard many comedians talk about that. Racially, they come from a different background, but then they're talking like, I never learned Chinese, but this dude thinks I know Chinese because he sees me as a Chinese person. And I don't speak a word of it. And I'm like, hey, man, what's going on? And,
that guy's a funny comedian.
Yeah. But we'll move on. Feats.
Every background gets a first level feat.
Yes.
So feats are broken down by levels now.
Yeah, or will be, which I think is a great thing. So now you can't have overpowered feats at the beginning. You can get them later, which is
something they brought back from 4th edition. 4th edition, there were leveled feats.
Well, also in 3rd edition or 3.5, they had tiered prerequisite type feats. You had to get something else first before you could get something else later. So you couldn't cleave? You had to have power attack before you could get cleave. So it's somewhat of a tiered situation.
Yeah.
Not necessarily built on level like this is, but you had to have something first before you could get something later, which is a great advantage. And I think adding the feats, and we'll talk about the feats later, give a more robust change to your character. It gives a definite shift in what your character kind of would be perceived at and what they're really good at.
Yeah, it definitely builds more character for your character.
Right. And we played in his campaign where he gave us a feat at first level, and I think it fleshed out our characters way better, which if you've been watching some of our campaigns, the Domain of Dread campaign where my paladin had the Keen Mind feat, it let me play more of the Sherlock Holmes character right from the get-go of what we'd expect from him than if I didn't have it. I can actively role play out that thought process, that understanding of knowledge and information, and not be burdened by actively having to know it and doing all that stuff. It was kind of freeing in a way to know that I had that ability.
Yeah.
From the get-go.
Finally, the last thing is equipment. Everybody is going to get equipment up to 50 gold pieces, and in the player's handbook, you had some that were more than others when you broke it down, but now everything is going to be a flat 50 gold piece.
Yeah, which is cool, which maybe they're tending to actually fixing the economy of Dungeons & Dragons.
That'd be great.
Which many years we've all griped about it. It doesn't make sense. For sure from 2nd edition all the way up to this one. The economy of D&D is garbage. So them finally going, hey, we're going to give you stuff that equals 50 as your starting equipment means we understand this is not good. Everybody needs to understand what values are so people don't just manipulate that or get away with having too much and not making sense.
And
or
then
too little.
There are a lot of sample backgrounds. I mean, you've got acolyte, artisan, cultist, criminal, entertainer, gladiator, guard, farmer, laborer, blah, blah, blah.
What's important about this is choosing your background is supposed to be where you pick your stuff. These are samples. That is not how they intend you to pick. Like in previous 5th edition, you're supposed to pick these backgrounds, and then the option was to change it or vary it. Now in 1D&D, they're changing reverse. You should be picking what you want, and then if you don't feel like doing it, here's a sample that meets the criteria of that.
Yeah. If you're that person that you don't want to look up the information to build your own background, then here's a simple
a typical
template.
acolyte will look like this.
Yeah.
This template is this. A
And
musician will be like that.
Yeah, and you could pick one of these and then change something about it. Like if you don't like the language, change the language. If you don't like the feat, change the feat. Like I'm only going to use half of this and I'm going to change this half. That's fine.
Yeah, that's a good change to where it'll allow people to play with what they want a little bit more. And it also makes it to where DMs can't just say, well, you said you're a hermit. That's not a very hermit thing to do. Now you can just say, well, that's how my background is, and that's how I'm going to change it. It's a good change for D&D as a whole, especially for the players more than for the DM. But also it's kind of freeing for the DM because they don't have to put you in this constraint of you said you're a sailor, right? So that's what a sailor would do. So why aren't you doing the sailor thing? Yeah,
and honestly, the way they've built the races and the backgrounds, I feel like this is better.
It's more cohesive
because it's really going to help a player build their character.
Yeah,
it's when you're making your character, this gives you a lot to go off with before you even make your real backstory. It's, hey, now I have a template for my backstory.
Yeah. And I think the background, what they had is all added value. Like it's not, I don't really see many things that irk me or are wrong with the way they've changed the backgrounds. I think that is definitely a good way they're going.
Yeah, and because also some people only chose certain backgrounds because of the special ability that they gave you. Like,
or the skills. I specifically chose certain backgrounds primarily because of the skill proficiencies they would give me.
Yeah, but I've definitely seen people be like, oh yeah, I'm going to pick the hermit one just so I can gather and forage food for everybody so we don't have to worry about it.
Yeah, which is a notable absence for these. In the backgrounds now, they don't have those special features that they used to. That is going to be gone. So,
and I think that's a welcome addition.
Because most of the time
most people didn't use them.
Yeah, or it's really hard to come up with. Like my sage abilities really never come up in the campaign with yours. Never. I could find the information if you gave me a library. I could say, give me time, I'll find it. But it usually is just a kind of a throwaway ability that won't matter.